I feel like I have sworn more in this video than I have in a while. What?
Oh, now you want to go. First you're like, I gotta read my sex book for the internet people.
Excuse me, guys. Okay, so we're gonna talk about that book. Yeah. Alrighty, so I had no plan on reading this book. If you guys have watched the first review for the first book in this series, you would know that I had high hopes for that book. And then this book came out and everyone was losing their damn mind. And I was like, well, shit, I hated the first book, but you know, maybe I should just try it out. So I put a hold on it at the library, but then I caught COVID. I had the plague for like a week. So instead of waiting for it from the library, I just ordered the bitch and read it while I was sick. Was it the best plan? Probably not, but I digress. Let's just jump into the fucking review, shall we? All right, so before we get into the review, there is a bit of housekeeping that I always have to do for videos like these. Number one, if you like Sarah J Maas, that's nice. I'm gonna shit on this book. You've been warned. I don't know what else you could possibly need to know about this video. So, number two, I know that Sarah J Maas is not everyone's favorite. That's, like the other side of the coin here. She is a public figure and she doesn't have to announce her political beliefs on pretty much any topic just because she's a public figure. Number three, I can make reviews on any books. This is my channel, and if you have problems with it either way, on your opinions on this person, I don't care. Let's talk about this book, shall we? So as I said, I had high hopes for the original book in this series. I was sorely disappointed. It was just not good. You can watch the video. But this book, people were losing their damn minds over the ending. So I was like, you know what? How about I find out what's going on? Let's waste some hours of my life and I'll tell you guys what happens. And y'all, it's so bad. It's so dumb. I'll be real with you. This is going to be a spoilery review. My reviews are always spoilery. But basically, if I had to endure the pain of yet another Sarah J Maas ending, you have to as well. So let's keep going. This book follows Bryce and Hunt from the first book and their gaggle of immortal-esque frat boys, and also a few other new characters, including a rebel girl who's dead and her brother who is not as special as you think he is for most of the book. Now, here's the thing about the first book. The world building was confusing and messy, and in all honesty, I didn't pay attention to a lot of it. Now, in this book, the world building was confusing and messy, and in all honesty, I didn't pay attention to it. I couldn't really tell you who the Asteri are or who the rebels are actually fighting against. Pretty much anything to do with the actual political elements of this book, I just didn't try and deduce, because, dear God, the one thing that Sarah J Maas cannot do is write anything with any clear intentions. It feels like. I can only tell you that for a book that has werewolves, vampires, I think there's vampires, angels, political strife, rebellion, genocide, slavery, there's a lot of talk about a made-up sport called Sunball. Like, a lot of talk about Sunball. It felt honestly like Sarah J Maas forgot that she was writing a book about political unrest, and she just had her characters do normal shit half the time. Like, they were doing sometimes like espionage and spy stuff, and then other times they were like, let's go on a double date. Like, you do know that the stuff that you're doing right now could get you murdered, right? Like, the reactions to the things that they were doing that were like considered treasonous just wasn't on the same wavelength for some reason. I'm not sure why. It's like, maybe because they have all these fancy powers, they think that they're not gonna get in trouble, but like, the people that are, they're rebelling against also have fancy powers, I think. It's unclear. This book felt like it was taking like maniacal war leaders that were committing genocides and killing children and put it as the backdrop to like a slice of life anime. I will say it wasn't the worst thing about the book, but it was very distracting, to be honest. Now to cut to the chase. What was the worst part of this book? Hunt and Bryce, without a doubt, was the worst part of this book. The main fucking characters. Still think those names are stupid, by the way. So in the last book, I talked about how I didn't really like these two anyway, but the last book had this weird thing that Sarah J. Maas did where she just didn't have her characters have sex. And if you have read any Sarah J. Maas book, you know that that's kind of her pull right now. And I went on a little bit of a rant about how I felt like it was something that Sarah J. Maas did for her adult book, that she just didn't have them have sex because for some reason that would cheapen the plot line. If she wanted to be an adult fantasy writer, she couldn't have her characters have consensual sex. But in this book, the characters start out this new story with a sex ban. They're like gonna get to know each other more like intimately, but like not fuck. Don't get me wrong, I have liked SJM's romantic pairings in the past. I enjoyed Resen's banter. I almost gave the Cassian Nesta book 5 stars. I have enjoyed the way that she writes romance in the past. But what the fuck is going on with Bryson Hunt? There's no tension between these two characters whatsoever, and it's just like there's no sexual tension at all. You know that they're gonna get together because they're already together. They're just aggressively heterosexual at each other most of the book, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm bored now. Can we move on, please? And all they talk about really is sex. It doesn't seem like they really have all that much in common other than the fact that they want to bone each other repeatedly. Like, there's a point where one of Bryce's friends gets his throat ripped out, and Bryce and Hunt are still just talking about the fact that they want to fuck each other. Don't worry, he's not dead. He comes back like 5 seconds later, but like, guys, maybe think about the fact that you just saw your friend's throat ripped out and keep it in your pants for like 2 seconds. Straight up, these two feel like that one obnoxious couple in your friend group that has fucked everyone else in the friend group. And then when they get together, they're like, we're gonna wait and make it special. But then they're like being gross on any horizontal surface, anywhere, all the time. Like, no, just fuck, come on. My biggest thing about books like this is that if your characters are into sex, let them be into sex. There is nothing wrong with a relationship that has sex in the beginning. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me that Sarah J. Maas's characters and books tend to be sex forward, but then she uses things like, oh, we're gonna wait to have sex so that we can get to know each other better. Like, if you want to be physically intimate with a person, that doesn't cheapen the relationship. I don't understand this concept at all. At every turn, sex is either used as a 12-year-old punchline to a joke, or it's treated with purity politics that just doesn't make sense in a book like this. Basically, if you're gonna write smut, write smut. Stop pussyfooting around and just do the damn thing. You cannot scandalize anybody with a scene where your main characters fuck in a gymnasium when people are reading books like Den of Vipers. Now, I'll get off my high horse here. I'm sure there are people that enjoyed the fact that there was less smut in the beginning of this book, because there was less smut. Obviously, that changed halfway through once they started having sex. But I, for one, definitely was just like, I don't understand why there are characters in these books that would have any sort of rule against having sex. And I just think that it's used to be as judgy as possible on people that have sex early on in relationship. I don't know. Moving on. So the rest of our Scooby gang here is made up of 4 dudes, all who are pretty much identical in the fact that their characterization solely is based on their like superpower and the fact that they're all in love with Bryce. Just all of them. Consistently in love with her. One of them is engaged to a mermaid, another one's a werewolf, another one really likes computers, and the last one, I can't even remember what his power is. It was so forgettable. Honestly, it straight up felt like SJM wanted to write a reverse harem in this book, but it couldn't get past her like Christian reader focus group. I'm not pulling punches this time, guys. I just, yeah. Bryce also has like 2 female friends who are both gay and they're together, so they can't be like anybody's love interest in the group. So there's just 4 dudes hanging out all the time around Bryce, thinking about how much they want to bang Bryce constantly. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, why? And Bryce is in like a loving relationship. So it's like she doesn't go with any of the other guys. So they're all there just to make her feel sexy, I guess. I don't know. It's very strange. Also, there's an incredibly stupid plot point where Bryce uses her like princessiness to pay for one of her friends to be the lead dancer in whatever establishment this woman works at. And like the friend gets rightfully pissed off at Bryce, and it just feels like the same sort of conversation Feyre had with Moore when Moore was telling her about her sexuality, and Feyre was like, oh, that's nice, but you should totally stop leading on this other dude instead of like, you know, having issues with your sexuality. Basically, to me, it just doesn't feel like when Sarah J Maas tries to write anyone that's LGBTQ at all, she just doesn't really understand how gay women would talk to a straight woman. At least, female friendships are just hit or miss for me with Sarah J Maas. I don't feel like Bryce is a good friend to her friends. And I think this book proves that by this particular situation. But bear in mind, this particular situation happened in a book where the main plot line is following political rebellion and treason. And we have a side plot that's all about Bryce being a bad friend. The math ain't mathing, you know? It just doesn't make sense. Now, the only character I liked from this book, as well as the previous book, was Rune Dannon, Bryce's brother, which, of course, I liked him. But by the way, Bryce actually says in the book that she thinks her brother is hot. So, there's that. All right, I came back after ranting a little bit. The laundry machine is being loud, so I stopped for a minute. Let's go back to Rune Dannon. So, Rune is the only character I cared about. His sister finds him attractive. We're gonna just not unpack that, so keep it moving. Rune actually has like the most interesting scenes in the book. He telepathically starts talking to this spy who's undercover, communicating with her about stuff happening in the rebellion. I don't know. I don't quite understand why he, out of everyone, is considered the candidate, or any of them actually are good candidates for espionage, because they all act like college kids, and some of them are like super old. Like a big thing about Hunt being attractive is that he wears a backwards baseball cap, and they all like to play beer pong, which like hashtag relatable, but like also this is supposed to be a book about like a missing child and a rebellion and death camps, and you have your main characters party like there's no tomorrow. Like, I just don't get it at all. Additionally, when Rune is talking to the spy lady, he drops his persona like 5 minutes in and tells her basically who he is, or like just implies who he is. And she's like, yeah, I already figured it out. You're not really that subtle. And he lets her know that he like wants to fuck her immediately. Like, no candidate, no training on whole, like, keep your fucking like identity secret, man. Come on. Even though it doesn't really make a lot of sense why he was chosen for this particular role, other than maybe he has the ability to do the telepathic shit, I don't know. This is the only part of the book where there's any sexual tension. And then of course she's being like, you know, fucked by some dude that she doesn't like, and Rune doesn't like that, so there's this whole other fucking side plot. Whatever, I'm moving on. Also, by the way, she's one of the bad guys, so don't get too attached. I couldn't even tell you what character she actually is, because everybody in this book series has a title, has a name, and has a last name that everyone uses interchangeably. So she's like the hind, or the harpy, or the rabbit. I don't know. If you just capitalize a random word, that makes it special in this universe, as we've learned from the previous books. So I'm just gonna move on. I didn't care about her character. I kind of figured out who she was pretty early on, because obviously there had to be some reason Rune couldn't actually be with her. But like, once again, the characters that are the villains of this series like to murder people incessantly, like not in a cute, fun way, like bad way. But whatever. So let's go ahead and just pivot here and go to a different character that I can't fucking stand. And she's already dead. Ladies and gentlemen, Danica is once again back doing stuff from before she was dead that Bryce didn't know about. If you took a shot for every time Bryce says, "Oh, Danica never told me that. She would never have done that," you would probably have alcohol poisoning. Like, it's just ridiculous. Danica's this weird enigmatic character that just is used as a plot device. When there needs to be any sort of plot progression, Sarah J. Maas just uses Danica as a way to push the plot forward by being like, "Oh yeah, Danica did this, Danica did that." I honestly think Danica had like a time turner or something to be doing all of the shit that she never told Bryce about, because she was also partying with Bryce. So like, what the fuck is the point? Let's talk about the plot line of this book. As you can probably tell, this book is like 800 pages long and things kind of happen in it. I've been kind of just going through things as I go, because honestly, you don't really need to know anything about this book other than the last like 50 pages, but sometimes people get mad at me when I just jump to the ending. So let's just go ahead and hit some hot points, right? All right, so number 1, random chick gets her brother out of a death camp and then dies. Number 2, Bryce and Hunt are lovey-dovey, and then random guy shows up and goes, "Hey, Bryce and I, we're getting married because my dad and her dad said so." Number 3, Bryce and Hunt are like, "Nah, fam, but we can hang out though." Number 4, Bryce, Hunt, this random dude, and their Scooby gang of frat boys team up to find the random kid who is trying to get away from the murdering, massacring people that put him in a death camp. Number 5, Rune is trying to be the next fucking Antonio Banderas in the Spy Kids movie, and he's talking to some random lady about, I don't know, spy stuff. Number 6, somebody attacks a mech suit transport thing, but that happens off screen. So if you wanted to see that, go fuck yourself. But if you didn't know, Hunt listens to audiobooks while he works out. Are you not entertained? Number 7, la-dee-da, boring shit happens, and then they find the kid. Bryce can tell that he's just a normie, so he's not important now. Goodbye, random child. Number 8, Bryce and Hunt fuck, and they can use that, like, sex magic to teleport. This will be on the test later. Number 9, Bryce finds out that she has now accepted her princessness due to bureaucracy, and because of that, Hunt is now also a prince, but she's still engaged to that random dude from before, and oh, by the way, he was fucking the girl whose brother is normal now, and he's gonna, like, take care of the kid. I don't know, moving on. Number 10, the wolf guy gets his throat ripped out, but don't worry, he's fine 0.5 seconds later because this random lady has necromancy powers. Bryce and Hunt were not concerned because, by the way, they were still fucking. Or they were thinking about fucking. Whatever, who cares? Number 11, Bryce and Hunt go play pool and get drunk at a dive bar in fancy smancy outfits because they are hashtag relationship goals. Number 12, Danica apparently knew the whole time that the planet they're on is using them to basically eat their souls for power or something. And additionally, she was also seeing this random dude who was a definitive bad person, and their mates, because of course we had to have the mate thing in this book. Yeah, so, you know, she was up to stuff at the end there. The number 14, 13, I don't know which number we're on. Rune's telepathic lady friend, she's also technically a bad guy, and she's also being fucked by a bad guy as well. The last one, to get away from the big baddies that are now attacking them for knowing the secrets of the state, Bryce uses the sex magic to teleport into a field where she finds a man with leathery wings who blindfolds her, takes her to some other place where she meets Rhysand.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Yes, Rhysand from the ACOTAR series. There are no words. I literally stopped writing the script here. I don't know what else to say about this book series. I, of course, knew that Sarah J. Maas's books were supposed to be all in the same universe. I didn't think that she would just jump the gun already, though, because there's only 2 books in this series, and the world doesn't make a lot of sense. The information given to the audience in this book is very confusing personally for me. And I don't honestly understand why this book had to have that particular ending. And I just think it's because this series obviously didn't have enough content on its own to stand as its own series. And now that she got the green light to actually move the A Court of Thorns and Roses series into adult, she just knew that she had to use those characters to keep this book series interesting, which is just kind of embarrassing. Personally, I also think it was funny that when I was seeing people were like, oh my God, the ending is so crazy. I was like, oh, okay. What could possibly be causing that level of hype, that level of ridiculousness? Why would people be saying, I didn't want to read the next book in the series, and then I got to the ending, and I now feel like I have to read the next book in the series? That would do it, you know, having Rhysand be there, Amren was there, I'm assuming Azriel was there. It's basically setting up the fact that, like, where Bryce and her kind came from was the same planet as Akatar, whatever. I just don't get it, you know? Like, I don't love it at all. I just don't love it. For me, for anybody. It just, yeah. So yeah, I don't really have anything else to say. Let me know what you guys think about this book in the comments. If you hated the fact that I went in on it a little harder than usual, then that sucks for you. You watched the video and I got AdSense money. So I'm gonna go now, guys. Like, subscribe, all the good stuff. Bye!